270 international publications. I never knew, I never read about plagiarism, and I never read about duplication. And thanks to you that after doing the publications, I have read about duplication in medical literature, about which I will be talking to you about. What is duplication? Why is duplication a scientific misconduct? When is dual publication acceptable? How to detect duplication in literature, and what is to be done after detection of duplicate manuscript or publication. Now, what is duplication? If you see the National Library of Medicine, duplicate publication substantially duplicates another article without acknowledgement. Basically what happens is that it is the same data set which is there. There may be some change in the title, or some amount of abstract may be changed, or the authors may be the same, and there may be some change in the order of the authors, and the text would be near identical. So any part of a publication may be verbatim or almost common with the dual publication, and the duplication patterns include duplicated parts of the article in abstract, discussion and results. And this is a study which was done by Irami et al., and he wanted to compare all the duplication patterns that are available in the various duplicated articles, and he found that maximally the introduction and discussion was duplicated, and closely followed by the part which was from results to discussion. The methods generally are not that much duplicated. There would be some amount of difference in the methodology. So why is duplication a scientific misconduct? Because publications are essential for academic promotions and extension of tenure in academic institutes and universities, and there is a continued pressure to publish a certain number of articles in peer-reviewed journals. So unidentified duplications and redundant literature, they aid in increasing the number of these publications, and that is why people duplicate publications. Why we want the same outcome twice at the time of meta-analysis, whether it is bad or it is good, and so this would skew the results. And also deny other authors the opportunity to publish their worthwhile work. Now, in a study by Rami et al., 1.35% of the Medline citations which shared authors were found to be duplications. 60% of the duplicates did not have a cross-reference to their corresponding original article, and 82% of the duplicates published in journals having no impact factor to escape detection. For instance, if you publish something in, say, Index Journal like American Journal of Ophthalmology, and you publish something like in DOS Times. So, generally those kind of things escape detection, because a publication which is there in a thing like DOS Times will not be there available on internet, but the other one which is there in a peer-reviewed journal, international peer-reviewed journal, would be available on the net. Now, this is the study which shows that how the number of duplicate publications over the years have increased. In 1975, the duplicate count was 6 per 1,000 citations, and in 2005 it has doubled. It has become 12. Now, this is another example how one figure was picked up, and there was a striking resemblance, because the figure in two journals was found to be similar. And when the reviewer found this, he informed the editor about it, and so reviewers can actually, if they review well, can identify duplication. This is another example of duplication, where the blue highlights are the similarity between the two articles, and notice that the authors are also same, except that some of the authors are deleted from the second publication as compared to the first publication. So, duplication is a subset of self-plagiarism, and there could be in the form of redundant publications. You have some other terms like salami slicing and text recycling. What is the difference between duplicate publication and redundant literature? Duplicate publication is similar. You have similar analysis of both the publications, but in redundant literature, there is a different analysis and tests of both the publications. The database would be the same, but different tests would be applied to it. Then there would be similar theoretical and empirical text in duplication, but there would be different theoretical and empirical text in redundant literature. And duplication would have same unmodified data, but in redundant literature you would have some additional data and some sub-analysis. For instance, you may show a technique on 3 patients, and then another publication show it on 10 patients, or show a technique of say 1 month follow-up, and then again reproduce it to say this is a 3-month follow-up in another publication. Then duplication would be in a similar language, but redundant literature would have a different slant of a language. But both of them, duplication or redundant literature, is a scientific misconduct. Then you have what is salami slicing, that is there's a partitioning of a larger study. You conducted a large study, but you're making out small papers out of it, taking various parameters into consideration, into smaller published studies. Then you have copyright infringement, that is an encroachment on exclusive right to publish, reproduce, sell, distribute or modify the publication. And this one should know very clearly when one is writing a publication or picking up from various books the chapters or the figures or the tables, with whom does the copyright lie, because you have to seek permission from that source. And the other is text recycling, that is the writers reuse the portions of the background text that have previously appeared in others' works. Now, when are dual publications acceptable? When dual publications are acceptable, provided you inform the editors of both the journals and both the editors they agree for the same. The existence of each version of the published paper should be made clear to each set of the readers in the form of a reference or in the form of a note. And when an article published in one language is translated into a different language and published in a different journal, but again both the editors have to know about it. Then summaries or abstracts of papers published in conference proceedings subsequently published in expanded forms as a journal article. Because, for instance, if you send an abstract to American Academy of Ophthalmology, then it is the ophthalmology journal's first right to refuse it, and you're bound by that copyright for that particular manuscript. And only when they refuse it can you send it to another journal.
Indian Journal also.
Indian Journal of Ophthalmology is also the same. So acknowledgement of the primary source is a must. How to detect duplication in literature? Now, basically, whenever duplication in literature can be reported by reviewers, when the editor sends the papers to the reviewers, they can say that this is a duplicated publication whenever they review the whole paper. Then the readers sometimes can point out if it has escaped the reviewers, then the readers who are working on the same technique or they are doing a review kind of a thing of some particular subject, they point out that this is duplication in literature. Then there are whistleblowers who can tell you about the duplication in literature and the softwares which are available. Now, how to detect duplication in literature? Generally, reviewers do it because of the common overlapping reviewers for the journals who get similar manuscripts by the same set of authors, and the subject would also be the same. And especially suppose it is in the same country, then the reviewer, for instance, if it is in America and you are sending something to cornea and you are sending something to ophthalmology, the reviewers would be the same. So, in fact, that's a tip when we send publications, that if you are sending something to American Journal of Ophthalmology or US and it has got rejected for a couple of times there, then it is always better to change the content, send it to British Journal of Ophthalmology or to Clinical Experimental Ophthalmology, because their reviewers would be different, of course, after doing the changes, because their reviewers would be different as compared to the ones who have previously rejected it. Then readers can alert about the already published articles. And there are software which are available which track citation and author pattern. So similarity over 10% can be detected by further examination, and they can be followed up with manual examination of both the articles. Now, this is the software, one of the softwares, in fact, the electronic text basic local alignment and similarity tool, which can detect the similarity from the PubMed. Now, what is to be done after detection of duplicate manuscript or publication? Now, there is what is called as Committee of Publication Ethics Guidelines, or COPE, which is there in UK, and until now it was being looked after. It was being looked after by Dr. Harminder Singh Dua. And what happens is that the reviewer informs the editor about a redundant publication or a duplicate publication. The editor thanks the reviewer and says that you plan to investigate and get full documentary evidence if not already provided. And then the editor himself checks the degree of overlap or redundancy. Now, if there is a major overlap, redundancy, or evidence that authors have sought to hide redundancy, then you can contact the corresponding author in writing, ideally enclosing the authorship statement, and you await the author response. But if there is a minor overlap and the editor feels that there is not too much of a redundancy, or then in that case you contact the author in neutral terms and explain that the secondary papers from which some references may have been sought must refer to the original, and you request for the missing reference, and then again inform the reviewer, the editor informs the reviewer of the outcome of the action. But if the editor thinks that there is no significant overlap, then he discusses with the reviewer and they go ahead with the review. Now, if after the editor has sought explanation from the corresponding author, he finds that the explanation is not satisfactory or the author admits guilt, then he writes to all the authors rejecting the submission, explaining the position and the expected future behavior, and also considers informing authors superior rank of personnel who is responsible for the research governance. For instance, they would inform the ethics committee in our institute or the senior most person wherever the corresponding author works, and informs the authors of the action and informs the reviewer also of the outcome of the action. But if he finds, editor, that the explanation is satisfactory and there is an honest error which has occurred, or the journal instructions were not clear, or it was done by a very junior researcher. So I think that Mr. Rao's case must have fallen under this category, done by a junior researcher. Then the editor writes to the authors rejecting the submission, explaining the position and expected future behavior, and informs the reviewer of the outcome of the action. In case the editor corresponds with the authors and there is no response from anyone, then the editor can directly contact the author's institution requesting the concern is passed to the author's superior and a person responsible for research governance, and try to obtain the acknowledgement of the letter. And if there is no response, the editor keeps contacting the institution every 3 to 6 months. Then following this, the paper is withdrawn from publication, and banning of the authors is done from publication in the journal for 3 to 5 years. All the co-authors are informed, and the editors of the related journals are also informed about this action. And for less serious cases, placing the author on a watch list for careful examination of their submissions prior to requesting reviews in future for the journal as well as for the related journals is done. So I would like to thank Dr. Pooja who helped me to make this presentation, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you.